Hey, everybody, it's the Badass Records Podcast, where we talk about you and some of your favorite music. New episodes come out Thursdays. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Badass Records Podcast at gmail.com if you'd like to do an in-person episode with me. It's Badass Records Podcast at gmail.com. If you hit the site, badassrecordspodcast.com, make sure you click on the merch tab. And you can find everything from stainless steel tumblers to coffee mugs to beanies, baseball caps, long sleeve tees, short sleeve tees, hoodies, stickers, and an assortment of custom tees that we have had made. So appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. So I love geeking out about numbers. Like I was really excited when I recorded 50 because it's a handsome, and then 52 was like, shit, I've done a year's worth.
Yeah.
When I episode 44, I was like, this is the Chris Pronger episode. You're one off. You would have been the Paul Coffey episode 77, but instead you're 78.
All right.
So I know you're probably an 80s baby, aren't you?
84.
Man. So was that the year that did the Cubs go to the series against the Brewers that year?
I know, I was too young.
No, I know, but so I don't know if there's anybody in your fanboy history that wears a 78, or if you have anybody important in your life. What's that?
I don't know about a 78.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Nevertheless, if all goes well, this will be episode 78 of Badass Records Podcast, and I have the pleasure of recording the earliest in the day episode in the podcast's history with the best left defenseman in Dog River Dog White Russian history, Dave Schloss. What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. So I think we can all agree that the last couple 3 years, going like now to COVID and maybe even a little before, it's like super weird and foggy to try to identify when something happened in that window. Like, does that?
Yeah. That's
so.
fair.
So there's that we all, I think, collectively experience, or are experiencing. But I am also around the corner from 50. So just generally speaking, my memory is like the contents of a dustpan kicked into the trash at best. It's all just kind of. So I know that I bought here in 2012, and you were living next door to me. When did you guys buy? Do you remember?
When was it in 12? What month?
October.
So we were probably 12 too then, I think.
Oh, for real? You were brand
11.
new?
We got married in 10.
Okay.
So, and then we lived in River Market.
Right.
for like a year.
Like a loft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then, we bought that house next door.
Wow.
So,
and then when did you sell?
We had only lived there we sold, let's see, Ada was born in 14, so 14? Late 14? No, 15. It would've been 15.
Yeah, because
she was born December 14, so, yeah.
Our daughters share a birthday, different years. But,
yeah, so like spring of 14, or 15.
15, spring of 15.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went north, and were wound up being there for 18 months?
Oh, no, we were there for years.
Years, okay.
Yeah, we were there we were there till...
Right, but...
Till COVID, basically.
So, almost house. 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 or 6 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's because you... hotel in-law, and then you had your own place.
Yeah.
And then got rid of it and went back to hotel in-law.
For a quick stint.
And then boogied to
Florida.
south.
Yeah.
So, how's it been? I mean, we talked briefly at the rink the other night, but are you walking around with the mindset of trying to get your other half on Team Island Time? Are you? Is that?
I don't know. I mean, I think Team Island time is a family thing for sure.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I think it's more just the culture in Florida is not what we were looking for.
But it is what it is, and you that's.
I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. I mean,
Okay.
We're kind of nomads. We might. Move,
You are right.
Who knows what we'll do?
Oh my gosh. I am so thrilled that, as I'm sure the rest of the White Russians would agree, that you have the spot up north and your gear has stayed there.
That's right.
And you were able to shoot down and have a skate with us.
I appreciate the invite.
Man, always. And just in case Prophet is watching or listening, he probably will. Assuming he sees it, not that he watches or listens to it, but if he sees you, he must have told me 4 times when during his episode and after he was finished and so on and so forth, that if you are ever in that chair to do your own, that he must be here.
It'd be a little distracting with him here.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there might be some added comedy to it, but we never, we kind of were like, as your week here was approaching, we were kind of like, let's look at this, let's look at that.
Sure.
And then we landed on a day we thought, but the time was to be determined. And so late last night when we were like, let's figure it out in the morning, but it's going to be morning.
Yeah,
I was like, I think that gets me off the hook with Prophet. He probably doesn't want to come sit here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Nevertheless, it's great to see you, not just for skates, but really appreciate you taking time to come down here this morning. And born and raised in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And one brother?
One brother, one sister.
One sister. I was on the fence about. And what are you? Are you the baby?
Middle. It's older sister, younger brother.
Okay. And how did mom and dad meet?
College.
Okay.
So they met through, my dad was friends with my mom's brothers.
Okay.
So in college.
Right on. And both of them also born and raised Chicago? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Have you? I'm sure you have, but you've seen the meme of the Bulls logo,
I don't know if I
where it's like if you turn it upside down, it's a robot violating a crab.
Yeah,
Now I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
So, as you're aware, a couple of our teammates, Tony and Cole, shouts out to Tony and Cole, are also Blackhawks fans, and Tony just could not stop talking about the fucking draft for weeks and weeks, and and then probably for another week and change afterwards. So Connor Bedard, right? Am I saying that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you know anything about him? Did he come straight from juniors? Was he playing any college hockey?
I think he came straight from juniors.
Okay.
I think he just turned 18. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be right on board in the NHL.
Right.
So.
And then
his highlight reel is pretty impressive.
Is it?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
And then there were a few other early round picks, right?
Oliver Moore, he's a defenseman. I think he's playing college though. I don't know for sure.
But do you guys had like another first and a couple seconds or something crazy like that?
I can't remember. I don't
right.
follow it as much as Tony
I
does,
mean, Jiminy Christmas.
I'm pretty sure Connor Bedard, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he broke every record in juniors.
For real?
I'm pretty sure it's something along those lines, or at least the top 5 or something.
Wow.
Something ridiculous. So.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember, I think you, I'm certain, have told stories about, we talk about how hard we have it here with our 1040, occasional 1040 puck drops, and you've told stories about guys that go to work, come home, eat, sleep, go play a 2:00 puck drop, and then they all go out to breakfast and then go to work. I mean, was that that was you, right?
That was my uncle.
Right, but you were the storyteller.
I was the one that told you that, yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, how long did that go on, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you my uncle who told me this story, and I know he plays it, he's almost 60 now, and he still plays. So
Okay.
he's been doing this for
Well,
since he was in his 20s. 30s,
I mean,
so.
it is funny to gripe in comparison with a 1040 puck drop, but I mean, I'm feeling that 1040 puck drop through Friday evening.
For sure, yeah.
Like Thursday, I'm like shuffling through, and then Friday, I'm like, why am I fucking? Oh yeah, because I totally threw everything off. But still, so worth it. It's the greatest game.
Yeah, for sure.
And you grew up playing, right?
Yep. I played pretty much my whole life.
What age were you first on skates?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably, I would say probably 6 or 7.
Okay. Played in high school?
Didn't play in high school.
Didn't.
No. I mean, fun, just for fun.
Right.
I played baseball in high school.
Okay.
Pretty seriously, and then.
You weren't pitching, were you?
I pitched a little bit. I did a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I was catcher, and then I played outfield, and
nice.
A little bit of that. So.
And at what point would you say that you developed the confidence that you have to come through, left slot there and put that wrister on net?
I mean, in high school, so my uncle had he lived outside of Chicago, and he had a barn, literally a barn.
Nice.
And he would freeze, build a rink and freeze it in the winter, and we would go out there. My brother and I and his sons would go out there, and we would just play. I mean, all weekend.
Wow.
And so it was. I mean, a hockey player's dream.
Yeah. Anybody ever get hurt?
No injuries. But I mean, he had a stereo out there and 2 real goals. I mean, it was perfect.
Would you have to chase pucks out? Like, would they go flying out of the barn?
No, I mean, it was literally a square barn, and it had like barn doors. So every once in a while, we'd open the doors and just get some air in there. But no, it was great, man.
Wow,
it was awesome.
That's awesome. I was just telling the story the other day of when one of the times I went up to your place up north. God, I'm picturing those fucking Japanese beetles. But the thing, you had this thing, and I can't even do the story justice because I don't know how to describe it. But a thing that you would on your basement floor, I think, wrist a puck, and it would go under a thing like a crack, and then there was like a rubber band apparatus that it would shoot it back.
Yeah.
What was that, and how did you come up with the idea?
I think I just YouTubed it.
Okay.
Like a puck retriever. So it was just like boards and then like a bungee. Bungee cord.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a good way to throw it off there.
Yeah, man.
Shoot into the tarp.
So mom and dad met in college. Did they, that you recall, put music on in the home when you guys were little?
Oh God, all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What were they into?
Everything.
Both of them.
Both of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over the board. I mean, I'll throw out some records and artists, I guess. So everything from early on was like Prince, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Katie Lang, Lyle Lovett, kind of later.
Yeah.
So everything in between. A lot of oldies.
Okay. Very cool.
My dad played in a band growing up.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He was a drummer for his band, and they would practice every Saturday at our house.
At your house?
Yeah.
In the basement? Or?
In the basement, yeah.
And how much would the sound...
I would go down there and listen.
Okay.
We would get, usually one of the guys, one of the guitar players or bass player, he would bring, donuts for us. And
nice.
My brother and sisters would just sit there and listen every Saturday.
And mom was supportive?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she loved it.
Very cool.
They're still together, by the way.
Right. Which is... the band?
The band, yeah, not my parents, but
right.
The band too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the guitar player passed away. One of the guitar players, but they're still a 3-piece, and
they gig?
They don't gig, but they just play for fun. They still record records and stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah, the band name's Vinyl Dog Toy is the name of the band.
I like it.
So, yeah.
Is Dog Toy 2 words or is it smashed together?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I don't really know. I don't even think they have a logo or anything.
Do they put it on Bandcamp or some shit like that?
No.
Just...
I think they're working on pressing a vinyl record.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
Well, who will they get to do the artwork, do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
My sister and my brother are artists, so
okay.
probably
very cool.
That'd be my guess.
So older sister, younger brother. Did what's the separation between you and sister?
3 years.
3.
And
Okay.
My brother's 5.
Okay. Did she at any point start a collection of CDs or anything that you
yeah, probably high school was for her. Her name's Heather. So
Heather.
Heather started mostly, to my memory, was high school, and she was into kind of, I guess, that 90s 2000s pop, female pop.
Sure.
Alanis Morissette.
Okay.
All the Lilith Fair artists.
Yeah. I know. Well, I have. Yes, it's a story for another day. But was there anything about things that she was into that you piqued your interest at all, or were you already going your own?
I was already going my own
Okay.
direction. I was into music probably the most out of anyone in my family. I mean, my dad with him being in a band, that pushed me pretty heavy to be in music. I
Yeah.
played guitar my whole life, so that was early on. It piqued my interest.
So you were kind enough to give me a list of records, and we'll get to that. But back, when everybody's individual tastes, because like there's this fascinating to me period of like you're into what your parents listen to,
Yeah, sure.
and then maybe you on your own change the radio dial or whatever in your own room one day, or you're at a buddy's house or whatever, and eventually you kind of start carving out your own thing. Was there an album that you remember really admiring, or perhaps one that you got to start your own collection?
I'm pretty close with my uncles too. So I had like my dad influencing me, and then also my uncles, and both of them were totally different musical tastes. So I have a memory of, I mean, my uncle so they're brothers, but Ed is his name, and he gave me this was like my 10th birthday maybe. He gave me a Led Zeppelin CD, and I'd never heard Led Zeppelin before.
Sure.
So that was.
Do you remember which one it was, or what it looked like?
It was the red and black cover. I mean, probably their most common. It might have even been like a greatest hits.
Oh, okay.
Like, but I remember listening to that, and just it was like a what is this? Moment
Yeah.
of like I've never heard this sound before. And then on the other end of it, Tim, his brother, was more into kind of I would say like punk, rockabilly. So he got me into like the Stray Cats,
Nice.
and like Brian Setzer,
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of like those two things were the first time I'd ever heard music like that.
I've told the story before, but so 95 to 98, I'm at Fort Lewis College in Durango, and I've had a radio show the whole time. It was a college community radio station, and Fort Lewis operates on a trimester calendar. So 3 times a year, the radio station would announce a new schedule, because you have kids leaving and blah blah blah. But it was like you'd have a meeting, and then you put in like your top 3, and then you find out anyway. Right in the heart of all that was when Big Bad Voodoo Daddy and Brian Setzer and Cherry Poppin' Dad, like I was like, this is gonna alter the course of music in this country. And I looked over here, and by the time I looked back, it was all gone. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Everybody loved that.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a little hokey, cheesy to it, but it's still fun.
For sure.
For sure.
It's
so crazy that it was,
Yeah.
What about first show?
I never really thought about that.
Or one from your youth that stands out, or high school or whatever.
I mean, we would go to a lot of, my parents would take me when I was younger to Lyle Lovett.
Okay.
They were big Lyle Lovett fans, so we would go there, and from a musical scale, I mean, he's an amazing musician.
Sure.
I listen to his music from a nostalgic standpoint.
Oh,
That's about
yeah,
it. I'm
absolutely.
not a huge Lyle Lovett fan, but like I can put stuff on and it brings back memories.
That's an itch that nothing else can quite scratch, the nostalgia of certain music.
Yeah.
Like where you walk around in life, and here's my public persona, and only certain people know a couple of wrinkles about me.
Yeah.
Because whatever, we're don't want to be vulnerable, etc. But when it comes to that, you're like, that's my shit. I don't care what you say.
Yeah. No, there's a couple songs by him that just really hit home.
Nice.
Remind me at home. So, but yeah, I went to a lot of concerts. That was probably my first like real concert. I was
Okay.
quite young. I was probably 8 or 9. When we went.
So 8 or 9-ish for that. What about first time you're holding an axe?
Oh, I got my first guitar when I was probably 8.
Okay.
7 or 8.
Okay. Now there was a half-finished basement situation when you lived here, and there were a couple or 3 like hung up or on display.
Yep, three guitars. Yeah.
And you still have those?
I still have 2 of them.
2 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you pick it up ever?
No.
It just
anymore.
Yeah. I know how it goes. I mean, I've worn all the costumes of all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say, my acoustic guitar, I got that. My acoustic guitar, it's a Guild D5, and it's definitely a piece of memorabilia.
Nice.
Like that's the one. The question of like, if there was a fire in your house, what would you go after? And like, that's it. Like,
Really?
no doubt. That guitar is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of memories with
it. Oh, cool.
And a lot of songs written on it.
So, so first band.
First band I ever played in was a band. I was 13. I still needed a ride. It was called Avert 13.
Okay.
I don't know where the name came from. They were a group of guys. I was actually thinking about this on the drive up. They were a group of guys that back in the day, like this was before like the internet was like really popular. And I remember reading like a newspaper ad. They had put an ad in a newspaper. Like kids had done this. You know? Like I don't know if it was his dad that like put the ad out and helped him, but and I remember seeing the newspaper ad and I responded. I just like called him and was like, "Yeah, I play guitar and sing. I'll come over." So
you sang too?
Yeah, I sang.
You're cut from that cloth. You can sing.
I mean, I don't. My voice is not very good,
but
it was like punk. So,
but it takes one set of skills to learn an instrument, another set of skills to have the discipline to sit down and practice and 10,000 hours and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then if you can sing on top of that, that's a whole other set of skills because there's a lot of great guitar players that just can't, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and I would definitely not say I'm a great or good guitar player. I was always like rhythm.
Sure.
And my skills developed like over time, but yeah, I mean it was like a high school thing. I got into it. They were a good group of guys.
Yeah.
They became friends. They went to a different high school, so that worked like in our favor. But I was with them all of high school. I mean until I went to college, and I played in all their bands throughout high school too. But like that was one where we played all the time. We were playing 2 shows a weekend for forever. I mean, it was wild.
Paid gigs.
Some were paid,
right?
Like it's changed so much. I've thought about this a lot too. Like when I was growing up in high school, I mean, I call it like the scene in Chicago it was a good music scene.
I bet.
And,
I mean, I would imagine it still is.
I just don't know if people do it like.
I see shit coming out of there.
Do you?
Let's say 20. Just I'm throwing this out there. 2010 to 2023. Because for every person that gives me a list, I look up a little bit about the record and a little bit about the band. And,
sure.
Well, I mean, Tony had like almost all of Tony's worship, like Common.
Yeah,
and then
huge Chicago's like his stomping ground.
So, and then so Moose and Tony and I have been carpooling for a while. We kind of go down like nerdy music hole, so just discover somebody new or just, we'll have a moment where a song triggers something nostalgia-wise for Tony, and he'll talk about like, oh, this dude produced for this, and like all these people that were like big names, not necessarily in that time frame that I mentioned, but I'll look something up and be like, oh shit, these guys did that in Chicago, so anyway, I'm sure it was banging though when
it was a great music scene. I mean, again, I'm out of it now, so I don't know, but like even my brother, like my younger brother, it kind of died down when he was leaving, so I mean, but we were like in the thick of it. I mean, a lot of great bands came out. I mean, we played shows with everyone's heard of like Fall Out Boy. I mean, when they were first getting their start, like we would play before them.
Shouts out to Steph Rupp, who is my logo and website design gal, who was kind enough to come and do an episode, and that's one of her all-time faves. In fact, they were here not too long. I think it was Fall Out Boy, and she got like pics at a meet and greet or some kind of
awesome.
But for sure. But I wouldn't have heard of them if she. So
and they've obviously done a lot of really good things in the music industry over the past, I don't know, couple decades, I guess. But I mean, they were always a band, like if you got on the bill with them early on, you knew that you're doing something right.
Cool.
They were good.
So Avert 13 goes from age 13 through high school, and then other bands after, right?
Yeah, I mean,
college.
Even through high school, I played in a band. I played in like a ska band, a separate band that I sang and played. It was called Just Went Blank.
Okay. That happens all the time on this show.
That's right. And played in, as I got older, I started, so these were like mostly punk and ska, and then it turned into more of like heavier metal, and that's kind of like the way the music went too, like I feel like it went like punk, emo, and then like metal.
Yeah. Did you ever get to a point where you were doing like throaty screams into the mic?
I never sang. Well, I played. Yeah, I guess I sang for a band called Kill the Fire.
Okay.
which was like a metal band, and I sang. I didn't even play guitar in that. Again, these were just like friends of ours that like we grew up working at pizza shops, and they played instruments, and we just started bands. So
Okay.
that's what we did. I mean, like every weekend we were playing somewhat, whether it was a VFW or a Moose Hall or
Nice.
a church basement. You know, that's like it was just constant. You could go to a show pretty much any night of the week.
Right.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So when was the last band you were in?
The last band I was in, so I mean, fast forward, I went to college. So I went to 2 years at Western Illinois,
Okay.
Which is the same college where my parents met, ironically. I went there for 2 years.
You have merch for your kids yet?
Yeah, that's right.
Just gotta keep it going.
I don't know if I'd recommend that college to anyone. I mean,
Wow.
I didn't go to school much. I mean, state school, like typical like college where I just like did the generic classes and then partied a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and just like had fun, met some great friends, kind of took a break from music those 2 years, just because, I mean, it was a state school and I was more interested in just having fun.
Yeah.
So did that, and I'll kind of fast forward, I guess. So my sophomore year at Western, my counselor was like, you have to declare a major. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like that question scared me to death, you know, like,
Underwater
like,
basket weaving.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and literally it scared me so much that I was like, I don't want to declare anything. So I guess I'll just like drop out.
Oh shit. What'd your dad say?
My dad was thrilled. But like my mom was real supportive, and my mom was like, well, just come home and we'll figure it out. You know, like
Sure.
she's like, I get it. And so I ended up leaving, Western Illinois. And as I was driving home, that summer, I mean, it works out too well. But as I was driving home, a buddy from high school called me and was like, hey, he was in a band, and he's like, we've got a full U.S. tour set up, and our guitar player just quit. If you want in, you're in.
What?
Yeah. And that was just like the timing worked, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. So I like drove home. I practiced with them for like 2 weeks, and we just hit the road pretty much.
How many songs deep would you say they were? As
Probably
far as
like,
perform,
probably like, I mean, it was like an hour and a half set. So
okay.
I don't know. I mean, I probably learned like 10, 15 songs with them, maybe.
2 weeks,
so.
you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was like 2 weeks of practice,
Yeah.
and then we just left. And that band was called And If I Perish. So
That sounds familiar.
there's a Boy Sets Fire is the band name. There's an album called And If I Perish. It was just total coincidence. Nothing
Okay.
on purpose. And it was, I mean, again, these were small. We were playing like coffee shops and stuff.
Where were you sleeping?
The van. So
Wow.
yeah. So fun fact. I've been to every state except for Hawaii and Alaska twice through music.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long were you guys on the road?
That was about a year.
A year,
I
okay.
mean, give or take, you know, it would be like out for 3 weeks, back for a couple days, out for a month, back. And I had just met Anna at the time, like kind of towards the end of that. So I was living in Chicago, like downtown Chicago, touring, working. And my mom was finally like, you need to go to school. Like, you need to figure this out.
Right.
And so I ended up signing up for Columbia College.
Okay.
Which is, and my bachelor's degree, I graduated from there. It's in audio engineering. So I ended up doing something in music,
Cool.
which was great. It was such a fun my classes were amazing.
I bet.
I mean, they were like in recording
You looked
studios.
forward to going to him.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. Like, my class would be on like a Tuesday night at a studio, and we would just sit there and record music and like, smoke cigarettes. It was awesome.
Nice.
It was awesome.
So across that year, any troubles with the van or squabbles between
no,
bandmates?
I mean, that group of guys was pretty good and pretty tame. We didn't do much. It was tight knit. We didn't do anything like not a lot of them didn't drink and like do any drugs or anything. And that was fun. Like, it was one of those classic, like, after a year, I think we were all like, okay, let's kind of.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Glad we did it. But...
Yeah, fun. We did it. Let's move on. And so we all kind of went our separate ways. I was going to school, and then I joined another band that was like a full-on like death metal band, and that was called After the Eulogy.
Okay. Interesting names.
Yeah.
Kind of across the board.
Yeah. And that was like the first band I had been in that was like really very serious. So I toured with them too, but it was like it was a friend of a friend that was like, hey, you should go try out for them, which I had never done. Like, you know, like, I was like, try out? What is it? It was mostly just like, hey, can you do this or not? And I was like, okay, I'll try out. So I like learned their songs, and it was like, I mean, shredding metal. So this was for like a guitar position that I never done before.
Wow.
So I would sit down with headphones, listen to the tracks, learn them, and then like go and I'd try it out.
Would you find that typically riffs and so forth would come pretty easily to you, or would you be going back?
I'd played guitar enough where like I could figure it out. You know, I wasn't classically trained or anything,
right?
But I could listen and be like, okay, I can do this type thing. but they, it was like it was a real band in the sense that, like, in Chicago, you can't, there's no one lives in a house with a basement. So like we paid for a practice spot. Like
Right.
it was a warehouse that had individual rooms that bands would practice in. That's all it was.
Right.
So you would pay to rent a room to practice in.
Just lined with fiberglass
Pretty
insulation.
much. Yeah. A little bit more than that.
So 2 years at Western Illinois, year of touring, off to Columbia, graduate, and then this band gig happens?
Towards the end, no, I was in the band when I was going to school.
Okay.
But then I graduated and then we toured.
Right, that's what. Okay.
And yeah, same thing. Like on and off for a year.
Yeah.
And this band was a little bit more like your
Profesh,
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Okay,
type,
okay,
like,
nice.
I mean,
Same deal though, like a van you're fucking sleeping in, and
15-passenger van. Yeah, I mean, and all the stories and everything in between, from peanut butter jelly sandwiches to like air conditioning breaking to transmissions going to, I mean, all that stuff. So
wow, sounds like there's a book in there, man.
Yeah, it was. Let's put it this way: it was enough where the experience made me be like, this is not what I want to do.
Oh,
yeah. It was, and I met. I was pretty serious with Anna at the time, my wife, and it was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
Like this is.
I like king size beds and showers,
That's right,
air
exactly,
conditioning,
yeah.
room service.
Yeah.
Call me when you guys have that in the budget. I'll be back. So, I if I was asked what Dave Schloss does for a living, I think I could say, but I mean, from Columbia College until nowish, or when we used to be neighbors, like what has been your career trajectory, if you will?
Yeah. So when I was at Columbia, the deal was like I had to work full time to support myself because Chicago was expensive. So,
Yeah.
So I went to school full time, worked full time, and played in a band full time. So it was busy.
And had a relationship.
And had a serious relationship. And Anna, what worked out good was she was pretty much in the same boat where she like worked full time, went to school full time, and so it was just like whenever all the spare time we had, we were together.
Cool.
So I worked at a friend of a friend. Her mom was like a regional manager for a dental office.
Okay.
It was like a corporate dental. They own like 200 locations.
Oh wow.
Across the Chicagoland area. And so she was like, hey, if you want to go like work front desk, like it's good benefits. It's, we'll pay you a decent wage. You're in air conditioning, like go do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, we can be flexible with your schedule, I could take, 3 weeks off at a time and then come back.
Damn.
So I did that through college. And then after I kind of quit, I started like a recording studio after I graduated. I tried
Really?
that. Yeah. And I was doing the recording studio and working at the dental office.
Using that major, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Yeah. And again, like a good fun stint. That was from probably 22 to like 24 age-wise.
Okay.
And had a great time in the studio, but it was the same thing. I graduated college at like an interesting time of where recording was changing. From it used to be back in the day where like you'd have to go to a studio to record like good sounding stuff. Well, technology has changed all that. Where, you can record records in your bedroom and they sound good.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember specifically like when I went to college, like our orientation when I was a music production major, like one of the teachers was like, hey, just so y'all know, like you're all going to be competing for like one job. Like this industry's dying. Like that was like the introduction.
Okay,
and I remember being like, okay, I'm really excited now, But
I just got over feeling like the relief from the anxiety of that guy being like, you got to declare. And you're like, I'm out of here. And then you get here and you figure it out and you're like,
yeah, like the days of especially now of like really like actually like people working in a music studio,
right?
They're pretty much gone unless you have a hookup or a connection or you work with an artist that blows up and you just get lucky. I mean, most of the guys that I graduated with are either working at like Disney World or in Las Vegas on like audio production stuff, like
fascinating.
Yeah, like they
pick up and move for their job.
Pretty much, yeah. If you want to be in that world, and it has nothing to do with like music production. You're not working on a record. You're working on making sure that this Circus Olay show sounds good to people. So. And I definitely did not want to do that. So
yeah,
tried the recording studio for a while, and then
that's cool. What'd you call it?
It was called Top Shelf Studios.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And how long was it alive and breathing?
Like 2 years.
Okay,
2 years. I would do that at night, work in the dental office in the day.
And what What was it that made you pull the plug on it?
A promotion from the dental office.
Oh.
So back, like circling back to the career question. So it was just like, you know, my relationship was like growing, and I was like, I got more responsibility, and like I just kind of grew within the dental office as I was doing that. And they were like, hey, you want to manage multiple locations, that whole thing. And it
They're
just
like, we're not going to be as flexible with your schedule.
we're not going to be as flexible, but like the money was better, and it
Sure.
was like at a point where it's like, okay, now I can make this money, and
Yeah.
I'm making way more money doing this than this, and you know, I mean, who are the brokest people in the world but struggling musicians? So
Yeah.
like, it was hard to make a living off of that.
Oh
know?
yeah,
So,
but in the 2-year window, did it turn a profit for you or break even?
It was profitable, but
Nice.
it wasn't like I definitely couldn't have done it on my own. You know, like,
Oh.
not for like I couldn't have made a living. Like,
Did you walk away or sell it or?
I just walked away.
Okay.
I mean, it was too flooded of an area. So during that time, I lived in a 4-bedroom house in Chicago, in a not great area. But all three of my roommates, the four of us, were all music engineers.
Okay.
So like our place was kind of like a musical hub. It was wild, dude. We had a lot of musicians coming in and out of there. 'Cause,
Sweet.
like, every room had music recording stuff
Wow.
in there. So
Where'd all the gear go when you walked away?
and I sold a lot of it.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it was expensive stuff, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
Sold a lot of it, traded it, dumb stuff.
So you get this promotion, and then where from there?
Get the promotion, start managing. 25, my wife and I get married.
Okay.
We end up moving to Kansas City.
So that's 09. You're 25.
No. That was year wise, that was 2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah, that's when we got married.
You were a busy motherfucker up until right before I met you.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
just
yeah,
doing shit. Anyway.
Yeah. So 2010, we get married. We got married here, Kansas City.
Okay.
We got married at Loose Mansions. You know where that's at?
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Did
I
we
don't
talk
think
about
I
it?
did either.
That's
I'm sorry. We got married at St. Peter's reception.
Reception there. Okay,
right.
we had both at least.
Took
That's
the
great.
trolley.
Yeah, that's
and anyway,
That's awesome.
great venue. I mean,
Great venue.
Yeah,
It
so
was a
fun.
blast. It was such a
Our
good time.
I think I gave the album to Anna, but the pictures from that night,
Yeah.
because to me it was all a blur.
It is. It goes by so quick.
And then like just it's a page turner because
Yeah.
everybody is having a blast.
It is, yeah,
in this
yeah.
cool little space. Anyway, you get married 2010.
We get married, and Anna wanted to move back to Kansas City, so I think she just wanted to be closer to family. So I said sure. So we moved back here. I took a job with a dental consulting company.
So you guys are in Chicago, get married in Kansas City.
Married in Kansas City.
Go
we still live in
home.
Chicago.
Decide to move back. Did you?
I took a job. We were in Chicago. I took a job with a company that was based in Salem, Oregon.
Okay.
But I would be like located here in Kansas City. So
Interesting.
yeah, so we were like freshly newly married. I went to Oregon for like a month and a half after we were married to do training with this company. And Anna was like in the transition of moving from Chicago here. She moved here and we ended up living with her parents.
Okay.
We lived with her parents for like
You know your way around that place.
6 months. That's right. Yeah. And at this point they lived in Chillicothe. So this was like in the... Which,
Okay.
moving
Okay.
from Chicago to Chillicothe was a big adjustment.
Wild.
So, yeah, but I was just working all the time. So I ended up coming back to Kansas City finally for work. And it was just kind of work from there. And then
Yeah.
actually moved to Kansas City. We moved to River Market. And,
Right.
We kind of...
And then at some point, you're working for a dental firm or office, and then you launch your own thing, and the place that you used to work for became a client of yours?
Pretty much, yeah. So Anna and I, when Anna found out she was pregnant with Ada,
Okay.
our oldest
Which,
daughter.
by the way, Chateau in Mexico, the onesie.
That's right.
My
That's the
all-time
onesie.
favorite for the couple that was never, ever.
Never gonna have kids.
So in my business, we talk about like cattle or different, never ever. You know, the
Yeah.
hormones and GMH, all that's. It's a never ever program. You're the never ever couple. We're gonna,
right.
and then all of a sudden, boom, Hecho in Mexico.
That's right. Yeah. Had a good time in Mexico, and Ada was born. So Anna was pregnant, and she was like, I was traveling a lot with the job with the consulting gig. So
That's right.
I had been promoted to regional manager, so we were basically my territory was like Minnesota to Texas.
Oh my God, I
to
forgot
Boston
about
to
it. And
Atlanta.
you were not the hugest fan of all of that.
No. It was fun for like a week, and then I was done with it.
And also, there was somebody in the organization that thought that you guys should act like you're 22 all the
Yeah,
time?
yeah. I always like wanted to go out and party, and I
Yeah.
was just like, no, I don't want to do this. So, but yeah, it was like classic corporate travel. I was leaving on Sunday nights, coming back late Friday, 3 weeks out of the month. So it was brutal. And my wife was like, look, if we're gonna have a kid, this just isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
So at the time, one of my clients, who is a client of mine at the time, was like, hey, he knew that we were having a kid, and he's like, hey, if you ever want to come work for me, come work for me, and we can figure something out. So we had a couple meetings. He was local here in Kansas City. Long story short, I ended up quitting, went and worked for him for 3 years. And then March of 2020, perfect time to do it, I started my own business. So, and here we are, 3 years later.
And then you're no stranger to the side hustle.
No stranger to the side hustle.
So you guys launched the wedding app, right?
We had a wedding app. I also did like a woodworking business. I don't know if you remember that.
No. No. You were still here?
Yeah, still here.
Okay.
Yeah. I made like I really enjoy woodworking, and I made like pet and baby gates. So I made a baby gate for us.
That sounds a teeny bit familiar.
Okay. And it was one of those things where like I made one for us, for our house, like a fancy one, and for our daughter, because we didn't want her to fall down the stairs.
Yeah, of course.
And people came over and were like, man, I want one of those. And I just like started doing them. And I did it for like 2 years. And
out of this house or up there?
North.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is the wedding app still alive and breathing?
Wedding app's still going.
Okay.
Wedding Pool is the name of it.
Wedding Pool. I'm sorry. I always screw that up. And are you seeing, is it growing?
No, I mean, it's more of just like a fun. No, I wouldn't say it's like going to get bought out and we're going to become millionaires.
Sure.
But
does it turn a profit?
It turns a profit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And was there another one that you were?
I worked on with more in like the dental line. It was like a software that I worked on with some of my like dentists that I worked on, and we never really did anything with it. I mean, one of the locations uses it on a day-to-day, but we never really like sold it or did anything.
Okay.
So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to move in the direction of your list. I need a little bit more water. Do you want more water or coffee?
Yeah, water would be great.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we have talked. I mean, our carpool life was very short-lived, but we've had a chance or two over the years to just briefly talk about music. And if there's one thing that I can identify that's got consistency across those conversations, is that your taste has always struck me as very eclectic.
Yeah.
I mean, country to whatever sits in your nostalgia basket, to metal and everywhere in between.
Sure.
So I was not surprised that your list, when you gave it to me, varied. But I was surprised in that I felt like you got it to me very quickly. And it's just the way that this has gone. It's like sort of three camps of people. Folks that they've been waiting for somebody to ask the question. Here you go.
Yeah.
Folks that got to deliberate, and that time varies from 48 hours to 2 months.
Yeah.
And then there's folks that are like just torn up about it. Like it's like asking to pick my favorite kid, and so it's like, so at some point, I did a subconscious pretend version of what would I say, and I was like, I mean, in like 2 seconds, I was like, it's gonna have to be a top 10. There's no way I could pick, and then it's like, maybe it's a top 20.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, 48-year-old me has a different answer than 28-year-old me. So it changes, and somehow that nostalgia stuff continues to float in and out. But I loved your list. I was very excited. And typically, I'll take the list that you give me and put it in chronological of release date.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do that, then we're reaching all the way back to just a hair before I was born, 1972. Elton John's Honky Chateau.
Yeah.
Which is the second I believe, Elton record that has appeared on the podcast. The first being Yellow Brick Road. And actually, the drummer from Shiner, local band here, that tours and often does gigs in Chicago, that was his lone pick. 'Cause I think in the beginning of things, I was asking. I don't know if I was specifically asking for one record, but either way, he was like, just nope, that one. And I was like, really, Elton John? And I have heard what I've heard and know what I know from the radio for years, going back to the early 80s, riding around in my mom's car with the oldies station on and hearing this, that, and the other thing. But when I sat down and listened to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I was like, holy shit, dude, this fucking shit slaps. So when I saw that, I was like, ooh, it's like, and then just a quick dig around, and it's kind of this like 5-album pocket of the 70s where the shit he was putting out, like, forget about the hits. The hits are not the great. I mean, they're great, but so this is the first. So let's see here. This is the 5th of 31 records that he has put out, including one from 2021. 10 tracks, insane. 45 minutes, smash hits, track 1, Honky Cat, and then Rocket Man's on there. But this is the first studio with Dee Murray on bass and Nigel Olsson on the drums, which is, as Jason from Shiner said, like, show me a tighter rhythm section in anywhere in American rock. And he's fucking correct, dude. Those two dudes. So how did what was your Elton John introduction, and how did this one wind up being special for you?
Another nostalgic. So this is a record my parents had.
Okay.
I own it today.
Nice.
So I have a pretty big vinyl collection.
What are we talking pretty big?
Probably over 500. So
when did you start that?
Big.
No, that's huge to me.
When did I start that? I mean, probably high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vinyl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really?
I mean, my parents, I would just take it and kept it over the moves, So.
Well, okay, so you're like mindfully adding to your collection before the Renaissance.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And what's even crazier about it is, like, now that we moved to Florida, I don't even have a record player. but I have the collection. So we haven't had, we don't have space for it there. So that's like one of my big things. If we ever move, like, gotta have my record player has to come back, because I love nothing more than to listen to albums on vinyl. It's just the way it was meant to be.
Through speakers or headphones or both?
Both. I mean, both. I'd rather listen to an album than read a book or watch TV.
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway.
Like, streaming is amazing. Most of the world's collection of music available to you on your phone or whatever, totally takes away from the experience of holding it and looking at the album art and reading the liner notes and smelling the smells.
For sure.
I mean, it's
totally different.
Yeah, it's like ground versus not, two different kinds of outlets.
For sure. And, like, I mean, we're getting a little in the weeds here, but I'll bring it up with, like, I mean, that was part of the, like, school for me. Like, I had a lot of really good teachers that not only taught, like, music production, but would teach about, like, the technical aspects of, like, an MP3 versus listening to like the origin of vinyl, and, like, like one of the class I had was called the Science of Acoustics, and I remember my teacher, like, the first day of class, basically she played, like, a tone, like, the human ear can hear, like, 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, 20,000 being the high end. And she started off at 20,000 hertz, like a tone, like a frequency tone, and was like, raise your hand when you can start to hear it. I'm going to go down. And, like, it was weird. Like, she was saying that, like, look at how much hearing loss you guys have had. And then we, like, went into the science behind, like, okay, an MP3 compresses music to this degree, this nth degree, as opposed to, like, if you were to listen to it on a natural vinyl setting, it's totally different, So, like, I almost feel like I trained my ears to listen to, like, I can separate, like, when I listen to a record on vinyl, I can, like, hear a bass, just a bass. Like, I can listen to it and just, like, I'm just going to listen to the bass.
Wow.
I'm just going to listen to, like, the kick drum. Which I feel like is a skill that I've, like, learned and over time, and that's, like, what really I really go nuts.
But you learned it as late as college, or you maybe had it?
No,
okay.
I mean, I maybe early on, but, like, I tuned it in college, I guess, and, like, I never listened to music that way until, like, someone was like, hey, you can listen to music this way, and, like, even, like, jazz is, like, mind blowing when you start to really break down instruments. You listen to things that's collectively, but then you break it apart and you're like, oh my God, like these people are just like given a key and it's just like they go and do their own thing, and then it's just they're in their own world, but they're together. It's wild. But anyway, Elton John. So
tell
yeah, I mean,
parents had this one.
Parents had this album.
Okay.
This is when I think of albums, for me, it's a one through finish. I don't like albums that are like,
bunch of skips.
A bunch of skips.
Yeah.
Are like, hey, this is great, but this is not good. And I like to listen to albums straight through. Like it's almost like if I'm not gonna have the time to listen to it straight through, I'm not gonna just pick and choose.
It's going through that is palpable. Going through your list. Yeah. It really, I mean, not just looking at the titles.
Yeah.
I mean, actually going through and listening to, like, there's kind of it's a journey. It's
yes.
a feel.
It's a story. Yeah, for sure. And this album to me, like, really does it. I mean, starting off with, Honky Cat, which is kind of an upbeat, almost like ragtime, with the piano in the beginning.
So fun.
That hook just like,
yeah.
Hook in the beginning. Yeah, yeah. And it was just like, I mean, I envision like the first time I heard, I mean, this is not real, but like I think like the first time I heard it was just like I was doing something and I heard that piano. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
What does that sound?
What's the I love this the clip from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Leonardo's watching something on TV in a chair with a smoke and a beer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and then it transitions into like mellow, such a chill song, It goes like a totally different direction.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it earlier where it's just, it kind of takes you on a journey. The whole record does. And I mean, Rocket Man is what it is, it's a great song, but it's also, I'd say the single on the record. And I mean, Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's is like, that still hits with me. Like I can listen to that and just get lost, still to this day. It was in that movie, Almost Famous.
I was like, why do I know this title from some? Okay,
and I remember watching it and like, God, this is like the perfect song for this.
Nice,
movie,
nice. I really loved track 4, Susie, and 6, Hercules.
Yeah,
not that there's are skips on the record, but those really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Other than the ones that I already knew coming in.
Sure.
But many reasons why I wanted to start this and get this thing going, but one of those is the concept of an album.
Yeah.
Which is sort of threatened to die off here and there in recent years. And a lot of artists are like, gotta drop that single. And some people are like, I'm gonna make an EP. Not everybody that's putting music out there is like LP coming, thinking of that mindset and deciding the track listing and how it flows and the art. And
look, as much as I love Spotify, which I really do, I'm on it all the time, but like nothing, and I mean nothing, pisses me off more than anything when like Spotify's like, hey, this just happened and it's like a new record release from a band I love, and I freaking click on it and it's like a single or it's like an EP of 3 songs. I'm like, damn it, just release a fucking album. Like just do it straight through, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, so the 70s, obviously folks were making albums in the 60s, and I'm not sure about the 50s, but maybe. But the 70s was kind of the boom. Like, this is where you get a big bulk of the double albums. And this is, I think, where labels become sort of mammoths and must-haves, and studios are I think cropping up all over the place. So this is right in that wheelhouse, and man, could he put one together. Holy smokes.
It's a great record, and it's on frequently when I cook.
Nice. Very nice. So we take a short leap from 74 to 79, and I'm glad that we stayed in the band lane of your story as long as we did, because now I've got a better understanding. The self-titled debut by the Specials from 1979. I'm sorry, I misquoted that all music quote about this. This one is a perfect moment in time captured on vinyl forever. It was about this. I bled my notes. But so you've played in some ska punk-ish outfits. Was this one, were you already familiar with this one before those outfits? Or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, another I mean, going back, this was an album that my dad had.
Okay. Dang.
Yeah. I mean, and it was similar in the way that it caught my attention right away, but
Sure.
also it was not like anything. I mean, who would you compare them to? Like, I mean, kind of
Themselves.
The yeah. And
Everybody that followed them and how that
yeah.
it all spills back to that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure the purists out there would be like, that's crazy. There was blah, blah, blah before. Oh, all right, sorry. I'm not a scholar.
Yeah, but again, another record kind of on the same lines that you can play straight through, but it's got kind of all...
Shame on you if you don't.
Agreed.
You're wondering now. Have you ever been like, fuck, it's almost over when you hear, you know what I'm saying?
Many a times. Yeah, I mean, like, Concrete Jungle was one that stands out to me of just like, the drums beating in the beginning. Nightclub is a great song. Again, just a kind of a roller coaster of sounds from... I mean, I would say they're like more advanced ska. It's not like just guitars,
right?
A trombone and a trumpet. The songs were put together great, good messages.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great record.
Were there any other records from that genre or related genres that wound up being special to you? Like we talked about that Rebirth, that lasted for 4 seconds, and there's obviously some other folks around their time doing stuff. But.
Yeah, not so much around like the 70s, but like as ska kind of got back older or got back more, gained popularity when I was in high school. Like I listened to a lot of like Less Than Jake.
Okay, yeah.
Jake and like just classic, I guess, ska bands, Mustard Plug,
okay.
Operation Ivy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I would say those were all grounded, like the Specials they kind of created this sound,
Our boy, Mr. Andy Crow, surprised me on an evening that I had the team over for snacks and drinks, and then maybe we went out after, and we were just in the kitchen, and a Let's Go Bowling track played, and Andy just turned and goes, man, I never would have guessed that one day I would have been standing in your kitchen listening to Let's Go Bowling. I was like, oh, shit. Nice.
Yeah.
So, like, it's funny, like, the ska reach.
For sure, yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
It's not always visible, but
like,
people have sat with it, you know?
Yeah. No, my brother, my younger brother is, like, super into ska. Like,
nice.
Ska and metal are, like, his two things.
Okay.
So,
So he got really pipes, too?
No, he didn't really anything.
But does he play?
No,
just an aficionado.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he would go to a ton of. He was a little bit more of like I would call it like the quirky ska, like Aquabats. Have you ever heard of like the Aquabats? Or some of his other ones that he listens to, like Catch 22.
Okay.
Some of those bands, but like I mean, I kind of listened to ska a lot with him, and like when I wanted a good new ska band, I'll call him and talk to him. But yeah, man, Specials are up there again, kind of nostalgia and just being an album that I don't think there's anything like it. I've never heard anything like it.
No,
so.
And this was the first of 8 for them, 14 tracks, 45 minutes, and their smattering is like a good chunk of time. Like they did, this in 79, and then a couple in the 80s, and then shot to the 90s, and then into maybe even the 2000s. Like, really? You guys are still putting shit out? Okay.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So a quick or a short leap from Honky Chateau to self-titled Specials, but then a slightly larger leap to go to 1994 Green Day, Dookie. And, we're sort of not the same vein as the Specials, but a somewhat related one. This is third of 13 for them, 14 songs, 39 minutes. Third time making an appearance on the podcast. So not only was it a popular one, but it's proved to be important to a speech pathologist, a lawyer, and now the owner of a dental practice. And so having just looked into it a little bit before, it's kind of this conundrum in that, like, if you're, in a punk rock band or like a big punk rock fan, everything is sort of like measured on like how punk rock something is or isn't. Like, dude, that's fair. So not punk rock of you to do that. And so some of the, the late 70s, some of the staples, the origin of punk, like talked shit on this band,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then like some of the others from that same era were like, dude, they fucking elevated punk to mainstream,
For sure.
and nobody
Yeah.
before them was everybody sort of tried like. It's this funny thing where you want your band to succeed. You want the music you love to be. You want others to, I think, like it too.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, if it is too liked, then you know you're less punk rock for that. It's like damned if you do and damned if you don't.
For sure. Yeah.
But how did you get turned on to these guys, and why is this one special for you?
I mean, I think it was just a timing thing. And generationally, you know, like the two previous records were before I was even born. But this hit, you know, 94 was kind of in a time period where I was into music, and like, I think it was like the lyrics you could relate to, you know, like, I mean, Billy Joe Armstrong was singing, you know, the lyrics of each song you could kind of, as a kid that was around that age, you could relate to, you know?
Yeah.
So, I would say, like, as far as punk goes, you know, like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, people would say that this is, you know, I think the genre would be pop punk, you know, which kind of that era was created.
Mm-hmm.
Real punk, I think those purists are going to go more towards, like, you know, I don't know. To me, the original punk band was always the Clash. But
Okay, yeah.
You know, like things like Bad Brains.
Yeah.
And, you know, No Effects.
Sure.
Like, those are kind of some of the roots of that. But this was, I feel like, the first. They set the groundwork for probably like Blink-182 would be my.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think nonetheless it was a record, and it still is a record that you can play straight through, and tells a great story, I think, and just about a kid that's bored and wants to write music and smokes weed. And
nice.
It hit home with me. So
Um,
still is.
And what about, so they've got, 12 other records. Did you ever get into anything else by them? Were you into
No, I mean, they were kind of the springboard. No, I mean, it's so funny you say that. I think in high school I was probably too cool to listen to like some of their later stuff, you know. Like, I listened to this, it springboard, and then I love to listen to a bunch of branches of Green Day, you know.
Okay.
And a lot of local stuff, like, but again, I think they laid the foundation for that
Sure.
to happen.
Yeah.
You know? As the transition would go, you know, I don't think I'm a classic example of someone who, like, it doesn't piss me off, but like it would upset me sometimes when someone would be like, "Oh, have you heard this record?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I've known the record forever."
That one?
Know? Yeah, not this, but like just other stuff. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was cool to like know bands that no one knew of before,
course,
you know, and like,
of
they're
course.
sold out because they're going big time, you know. So
yeah, I had a buddy on who said the only thing that was ever cool about me was that my music was cooler than yours, you know, or like I knew
for sure,
a lot.
Yeah.
You can't really change like the way you look or how tall you are, or how good you shoot a basketball, but you can work on that music.
For sure. But no, I mean, I think this is a record where I feel like if you're a punk fan, and if you say that you don't like it or it's not a good record, I don't think you know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
So it's got everything that a good punk record should have.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, another small step forward, and we move towards the end of the century, really. Summer Teeth, Wilco,
180,
who is an evolving animal for me in terms of this podcast. There have been a lot of pockets of it where I'm like, fuck, I cannot fucking get away from Wilco. Everybody, and then, you know, and thankfully for me, at first, everybody that picked one was picking Yankee, and it was like, I don't need to listen to, I don't want to listen to this one again. And then all of a sudden it was a different one. So this is like the fourth different Wilco. I mean,
wow.
A lot of episodes that have had Wilco. This is the fourth different record. Third of 12 for them, 16 tracks, 60 minutes. How deep are you in Wilco?
Oh God, I mean, I hate to make this statement, but for me, probably I would say they're the greatest band of our generation.
Okay,
my generation.
Fair. There's a fucking ton of people out there that would, you know, 100% agree with you.
I mean, they're just, and the reason I say that is I just think they blend so many different styles of music, and I listen to them from a standpoint of like, I can hear metal, I can hear jazz, I can hear pop, I can hear like the Beatles, I can hear the Beach Boys, you know, like, and all that stuff, and it hits differently. And they're just, again, they're one of the few bands. I made that comment about like, you know, releasing singles, like they're just like not that type of band, you know, like they're the type that's like, we're gonna put together a good collective record of songs. And like, you know, Jeff Tweedy to me is one of the best, if not like I'll just say one of the best musicians of all
Sure.
time. I mean, he just gets it.
So are you Son Volt and Uncle Tupelo
Oh
and
yeah,
Jay
Uncle
Farrar?
Tupac. Yes, yeah. I mean, have you read his book?
No.
I haven't. I'll have to give it to
Okay.
you. It's a really good, just kind of like to tell his story.
Tweeties? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, his background is just like classic struggling musician, but he was just someone that was born with a gift.
Yeah.
And I've seen them. Wilco's probably the band I've seen the most in concert.
Nice.
I've seen them 25 plus times.
Well, somebody gave me a stack of burnt CDs and like on a road trip in '05, and it unfortunately, and here's another leg of the stool of why it is that I do this, but I was always like when I had the radio show, it was like everybody is sending their promo and their whatever, and just anything to get some radio play, and that was the one. No profanity, but you got to play 10 new tracks. The whole room was divided up, CDs into genre, and color coded and alphabetized, and the new wall was over. It's just constantly new shit. So every episode you got to play 10 new tracks, and then the rest is up to you. So it was like I was learning about shit before it was out, and promotional material, like maybe occasional poster or sticker. Like I was like in it, and then as soon as it was like I was my only sustenance was spinal fluid from newborn, just and then as soon as I was out, I was like I'm a washed up old man, because I'm not in that anymore. And so like it's like, okay, so here's what I like, and these are the things that only everything else is shit. So like if something didn't stick with me, not just then but a lot over most of my life, put it in a box and label it, and that's what it is. And in that stack of CDs that I was given was a copy of Yankee. I was like, I don't get it. And there's a bunch of other bands in there too. Kanye was in there, My Morning Jacket, and I was like a half listen, and like this is so. That's what I thought. The sound of Yankee was how I pigeonholed Wilco, and it wasn't until this. It was like, oh fuck, this record sounds nothing like this one, and this sounds like nothing like that one, and this stayed true to that. In that, I was like, I wonder what we're gonna get. Banger opening track. I was like, oh shit. It didn't stay in that same feel, right? He kind of goes, but super solid.
Super solid. It's I feel like it's got a lot of, for me personally, of like this was a record I was spending a lot when my kids were born, and like, it always has like that. To me, there's a lot of songs on here that remind me of my kids, and
nice.
Everything from Shot in the Arm to I'm Always in Love, and like the classic like Kansas City, like Via Chicago, that song always hits home for me.
Yeah, of course.
ELT, Every Little Thing, My Darling. I mean, all those songs are just so good.
I had track 7, Pie Holdin' Suite, 8, How to Fight Loneliness, and 10, ELT as my other favorites in addition to the opener. I don't think that there's a couple of slower ones on there, but I don't know that I would necessarily call them skips. I think it flows really well, and kind of I'm being forced to perpetually rethink my opinion of this band, and every time I am doing that, it's up a notch and up a notch.
They're what's cool about Wilco, I feel like, is they I've had this conversation with a couple different people that I would consider educated musically, and what the consensus that I've gotten is that like Wilco, they're able to craft a song like, to me, like the Beatles did, and I hate to compare them to the Beatles or anything like that, but they would craft it where it was like verse chorus, end or whatever. And what they do is, I feel like they take a verse chorus, and then they just throw it in a blender and come up with like different hooks, and then they like dissect it even more, but somehow it's still super catchy. And I feel like as a musician, that's really hard to do, and they do it very, very well.
That's why most bands, even if your debut is well received, I mean, that's good luck with that second record. And then be third and fourth. I mean, how many bands are making it to their fourth record? Out of all the bands that exist. And so then if you do make it that far, I mean, you owe it to for sure yourself and your bandmates,
Yeah.
and of course your fans too, to sort of, reinvent the wheel. Hate to be cliche.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I mean, Wilco does that really good. I mean, I also love that they've never really been on a label. They do everything. They're like independent. They've been independent their entire time, and I feel like that's, I mean, I think there's some luck involved with that, where they've just gotten, big enough to the point where like they've, or I guess you could call it right decisions that they've made, and their music speaks for itself. But, my point is, I don't think they have the constraints of being like, hey, we need to do this to make a buck, to do
No,
this,
I think they're not their most recent, but the one right before that was called Schmilko. Like, we are going to do whatever the
hell we want. Yeah, they've got their studios in Chicago, and they've always got like, it's like my lifelong dream to go to it sometime. But
is it a thing that the public could go walk
sometimes
around?
They do like events and stuff there, but like they do record records there and stuff. But like they call it like the loft, the Wilco loft. I mean, they've got some from, again, like a nerding out from a musician standpoint, but they've got some of the coolest instruments, just like all the time, like guitars and stuff, just chilling in there. And I mean, yeah.
Now, are you from your new location? Not new anymore, but where you live now? Are you still getting up there just as frequently, Chicago?
I mean, not as often. We're up there probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
So
okay. Before it was what, 4, 5, 6?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So not as much.
Well, that was a really fun one. I'm glad you had it on your list. But man, people love them some Wilco.
Yeah,
like, it is thick out there, and I feel like, I mean, for a lot of different reasons. Like, it seems to me that, as a novice person regarding their discography, that they reach folks in different ways, and there's obviously unity in that.
Yeah, for sure.
But fascinating stuff. I thought that I had the last Wilco record to appear on an episode was Sky Blue Sky, and I was like, that's probably my favorite one, and I won't like any others that I haven't already listened to. And then just 2 episodes ago, somebody had AM. And I was like, well, this is fucking different and pretty cool. And then I was like, motherfucker. Oh, this one's kind of cool too.
Yeah,
it's not all
got their own
the
sound,
point.
for sure.
Point of the story. It's not all Yankee.
No. I would say, I mean, as much as I love Yankee, like it's probably one. I hate to use the word least, but like it's not my favorite.
Okay,
for
sure.
Yeah, it's a sound. But,
next we take is it a short one? No, it's a significant one from 99 to 06. Really caught me by surprise. Continuum.
Yeah.
John Mayer.
Yeah.
Who has sort of been here in the last handful of weeks a topic of conversation in a number of camps that have crossed streams, meaning Dead and Company just wrapped up their final tour.
Yep.
And then while that was happening, Taylor Swift was on her big. I mean, she did 2 sold out shows at Arrowhead, and I mean, this town was like vibing for like a week.
I heard.
Everybody was just, and then the posts were just endless. Parking lot. One person said it was like a Grateful Dead show without the drugs. I saw like, I don't know how many posts of adult women, doing the bracelet swap thing, just 30 bracelets deep and posting, and like, she's going out there and dropping 3-hour, 45-minute sets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but you've got to respect her as a musician,
right?
And I mean, her new record is, I've listened to it. And
Midnights.
It's a solid record.
Yeah.
Like, as far as pop goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I had heard, and I don't know if this is right, but I thought they had said that she will be the first person to tour, that this tour will make over $1 billion.
I mean,
in revenue.
Of course, they had a whole day at Arrowhead that was merch day,
which just seems insane. Like $1 billion just touring, like that just seems insane.
Yeah, not including sales and stream. I mean, in streaming, you know what I'm saying?
Nuts,
but
yeah,
nevertheless, as this was happening, I forgot that they dated.
I didn't even know that they dated.
So like, I'm right now working my way through the discography, and I'm about 4 or 5 records in. But it started with like when Lover came out and it had "You Need to Calm Down," which I think is just a fantastic song. That I was like, oh shit, she is for real. Like I got to check her out at some point. I didn't until now. My daughter's way into her, so I started with the Apple Music Essentials playlist, which is like, I don't know, 45 songs, and they're all fucking great. And so I remember, like, oh shit, I saw somebody wearing a shirt that said Mothers Against John Mayer at the I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, oh shit, they date. And then I learned Dear John, which is a song that I knew from that, like, oh, that's about him. And I don't know, forget about whatever. But it seems as though folks are hung up on the she's 19, he's 30 when they're dating, and whatever happened between them, I don't know. But like, if fucking it doesn't affect you, like, so nevertheless, I went and saw a handful, a pair of Dead and Co shows in 7 years ago, so whenever that was, and then again the following year, and again the following year. And that first year I was like, John Mayer, really? Run Through the Halls of My High School, Bodies of One, like, and then I was like, oh fuck, he shred. Anyway, so being, I literally left the venue mind blown, and then learned that somebody saw him probably promoting an album or something on a late night show, and he talked about the Dead, and the connection grew from there. And then he just like immersed himself in their catalog and became a student, and like had favorite eras of live performances. Suffice to say, he's fucking amazing. I had not heard of this record, so I was like, what do we got here? And I just, a super quick glance at the track listing, I was like, oh, none of this. Hit play, and then the lead track, Waiting on the World to Shine. I was like, oh my God, I've heard this like 475,000 times and forgot that it was him. How did he wind up in your lap, and what made this one stand out?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know how he ended up in my lap. I mean, I've probably the guitar. Like, I've always known him. I kind of first, I mean, obviously all the pop stuff that he did was, it is what it is, put it wherever you want. But like, I listened to a lot of his stuff when it was the trio, like the John Mayer trio. I don't know if you listened to that stuff.
No, but I remember.
You need to.
Okay.
It's so good. But he's got like a blues foundation and kind of a blues background. And to me, this record, like, as good as Waiting on the World to Change, was for his career, to me, that's the weakest track.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, like, I found myself with this. I'd always probably skip to track number 2. But just because it was overplayed, good song.
Right.
But like, again, just a record that I feel like it's a roller coaster, man. You can listen to every track on this, and this is one of the best crafted albums, I think, of all time. And from the lyrics to, we talked about rhythm section. The rhythm section on this album is just, it doesn't miss a beat, dude.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, the kick drum and the bass are just unified.
Well,
the album.
We talked a little bit about that honky cat.
Yeah.
Vultures, track 6. Is just like rooted in blues guitar, but like the rhythm section is doing like funk. And I was like, I fucking get down to this. Like, what is going on here? This is cool.
For sure. And like, I got really into learning how this record was crafted.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that, man, I can't even think of his name, but the bass player on this album, whoever it is, maybe it was Pino Palladino.
Okay, that sounds a little familiar.
And the drummer, I think they recorded it together, and I think it was like one of those things where, it was like a basement, like, hey, let's build the album here, and then like take it outward, and it was like a collective soul. But to me, I mean, you can just hear that, like, no one's doing too much, no one's doing too little. It's just like it all clicks.
Yeah. And it's not all the same. There's different shit happening.
Yes, exactly.
what was it? Slow dancing in a burning room.
Yeah, those lyrics are just.
I was like,
what
bro.
an analogy, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Mayer. Everyone like throws the pop in my face usually with him, but like to me, he is an outstanding musician.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go from like, like you said, your body's a wonderland to playing with the dead? Like, how's that for a resume?
Not overnight, I don't think.
Like,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And to your point about the guitar, I mean, dare I say, like up there as he paved the way, but like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just to me, the guitar is like his third arm. I mean, it's just an extension.
Yeah.
He gets it.
It's crazy. I don't remember because I saw those first 3 years. They were all in Boulder at Folsom Field where the Buffs play. And after the third year, I was like, that's enough because their tickets were never cheap. It's obviously a flight and an Airbnb, and then all the meals and the $18 beers at the event, whatever. And then they weren't really folding in a whole bunch new into the repertoire.
Yeah.
Which is whatever. But I started kind of like, and it was almost always 4th of July, so it's like we're hearing one more Saturday night and U.S. Blues on Saturday the 4th, but I don't recall him playing with headphones on, but he for sure did that every show this tour. And I'm curious if he had done it like last year. When did that start to, because nobody else on stage is, but he is. I mean, if you have headphones on, you're dialed in.
Yeah,
like,
you're tuned in.
Obviously, you can feel things and see things and check your how you're harmonizing with everybody and so on and so forth. But he wants to hear
for sure
whatever. I'm assuming. I guess it could be the keys, but probably himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It could be a million things. It could be the rhythm section.
Yeah,
he just wants to hear the kick and bass better, but who knows?
That was a really fun record, though. And are there how? So you know the rest? What would we say? He's got 7 others. Are you familiar with any others? Or
not too many.
Okay.
No. I mean, this was again. I have this on vinyl too.
Nice.
It's one of my ones that I listen to all the time.
I bet that sounds great.
Yeah, it does. It sounds really good. It's one you just kind of turn up, and I like to listen to it with headphones.
Sure.
So
okay. Cool.
And separate the instruments, but
should have not come as a surprise that you were prepared enough to have alternates or honorable mentions, I should say. So you threw a few in, so I want to just acknowledge them, and you give me a one-liner or say, a 20-minute thesis, whatever. But 2016's A Sailor's Guide to Earth, Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah.
I think you turned me on to Sturgill maybe first.
Yeah, probably.
Or second.
I like to pride myself saying I'm one of the first followers of Sturgill.
Right.
What caught me with him was just probably his voice, that old vintage country sound. And you couple that with someone that shreds on the guitar, and it sounds pretty good. But yeah, that record is it's a good one where it's kind of like an alt country, I guess is where I put it in the category.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big country fan. I mean, I respect it. It is what it is. I'm not a huge pop country fan, but I like vintage country. And to me, I mean, that record just, it's kind of got that alt country where it's not too vintage, but it's got a hint of vintage in it.
Cool. Very
cool.
That's
a great record.
2 years earlier than that, Half the City, St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Have you heard of them?
No.
So they've got more of like a R&B kind of Motown sound.
Okay, cool.
So it's got a little bit of a ska influence from the horns, but the singer is just killer.
Nice.
Just belts out.
And how'd you come across them?
I mean, my favorite pastime is really, this is what I've loved most about Spotify, is I will love nothing more than a 6-pack of beer, sitting on Spotify and going to like just clicking through records or like recommended and then scrolling down and being like, fans also like, I will do that for hours on end and just go through. So this is someone that I found based on, recommendation through Spotify, and I just got lost in the record.
I mean,
another great record. I would highly recommend that one. So.
And then last but not least, 2015 Currents, Tame Impala, which, a little bit of time has passed since you gave me this list today.
Yeah.
And when we finally were like, okay, we're doing this, I had to, I had to find Dave's list. I don't remember what's on him, but I have developed a big fondness for this record.
Yeah.
Mostly because one track or another will just be playing on shuffle, and there's like this sort of silky electronic attractive like I'll be like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm like, oh, it's that goddamn. So and I currently I'm not familiar enough with the record to know it like the back of my hand, but Jesus, I'm drawing a blank, but because I'm a man, woman.
Yes.
You talked about Green Day and like being able to, I think, clearly hear the lyrics.
Yeah,
that is not the case on the, like I have to strain.
Yeah, no,
because he's got, I think it's the one primary lead vocalist, and he's got big range in the high notes.
Yeah, I mean Tame Impala as a whole, I mean that record is great, but I'll just speak on them. I think you said it best with like silky electronic, which again is kind of a sound that has always been. I like electronic music as well. Sure. And then you add the silkiness as well as like poppy melodies, which I think is like what they've hit home on. You know, their melodies and the way he sings is very, very kind of pop, and I think it fits well together. But yeah, again, I think you said it best with. That's a record where I feel like you can have that in the background, and it's like you can be in the middle of a conversation and the exact thing. I'm like, wait, what was that? What was that? Yeah. You know, like, what did you just hear that? Then it always catches my attention. Every time I listen to it, it's something new. You know. So
yes, it's always
very. It's a very intricate.
That record. One though, you know, I've heard it 5 times. That track 5 times before I was like, okay. Turn off distractions. I'm gonna open the lyrics.
Yeah.
And the whole song is this man telling I am who I am. This is why I act.
Yeah.
I don't always think before I do. Yeah. Impulsive. I'm a man, but and woman is the butter from my bread.
Yeah.
So here it is.
Yeah.
Do with that information what you will. Yeah. You're probably just gonna throw it and keep being a woman.
Yeah.
But I really like that you know bed of music with a male vocalist hitting high notes like that and speaking to a woman. Yeah. It's like I think you covered everything, man. Like it's all folded in, and anyway. So we got to get you out of here. You got family to get back to and a party, but I got 5 funny finishers for you. Funny, not comedic, just goofy and hokey.
All right.
So the first one is lunch with anyone dead or alive, who and why?
I don't know. I'll say Prince.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just curiosity.
Okay.
And I just love to have so many conversations with
him.
About so many things.
Yeah. That's awesome. You can visit yourself at any age. What age are you choosing in the past? And what are you saying, if anything?
Visit myself at any age. I would say probably 18.
Okay.
And I would say... I don't know, something along the lines of like slow it down and enjoy the moment.
Okay, very nice. Complete this for me if you would, please. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live if only
people would love more.
Damn, just like that list of records. You got that shit ready to go. True or false? It is okay and acceptable to wear the t-shirt of the band whose concert you're going to.
False, 100% false.
That is correct, sir. All right. For the haters out there, I will offer a caveat. You got to the show, and you went to the merch stand and bought a t-shirt, and then... No. That was also correct. You get a toaster oven and a Yeti cooler. Last but not least... You remember the old TV show Gladiator?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think that's what it's called, right? With the obstacle course.
American Gladiator.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of nostalgic hype for it these days. Like it's popping up everywhere. So who wins in a 1v1 on the set of American Gladiator? Lex Friedman or Elon Musk?
Ooh. I'll go Elon.
Hey, okay. I mean, he does seem like a bigger, more durable frame, but Lex might outsmart. I don't know. Where did Lex Friedman come from?
I have no idea.
Dude, like, he is so awkward and intelligent and poignant, and just, he was, all of a sudden, he's just here and having, like, massive names sit across from him. And he's always got a shirt and tie and his funny little hair. But I mean, I was like, I feel like we should give this guy an important job and doing something for the Globe, or I don't know, but fascinating.
Has that way about him.
Dave Schloss, man, it's really good to see you. So was this you're working while you're here, but was this just a family visit?
Yeah, both.
Okay,
I mean, both,
okay.
Yeah.
So glad that you still come. So glad you have to, since you have folks. And again with the gear, and if you ever are looking for the sketch, the app is. She doesn't know how to load. Something about the app changed.
Yeah,
so it's like a digital calendar within the body of an email message. Yeah. So if you ever are gonna be, always ask.
Okay.
Because it just, hey, is there a game tonight, or is there a game this week? And if so, what time? Yeah. And you're always welcome. Appreciate it. It's a great group. Without you, it's even better when you're a part of it. Yeah. And so thank you for skating with us, coming to town, and carving out an extra little pocket of time to come do this.
Yeah, appreciate it. Had fun.
It's been a funny range of like, he said yes, and oh shit, he gave me a list. And then it was like, we'll get around to talking dates, and you're like, I'm moving, and I'm like, okay. I was like, wait. And you've been back once or twice, and we haven't been able to make it work. And I started to get to a point where I was like, I mean, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I bet it would be fun if it did. And this was fun for me.
This was fun. I had a good time.
All right,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks.
That was good.